So I just woke up, which explains all of this. But more importantly, the FNAF movie came to me in a dream last night, and I got to see the entire thing. And here's my review before the movie officially comes out, so you know whether to watch it or not. So I'll just kind of recap the plot. So spoilers ahead, but I'll let you know when like the real spoilers kick in later on. So the movie opens with in a children's restaurant. However, there are no animatronics. The tone from the get-go is letting you know that this is a slasher comedy as opposed to a like ambient horror that FNAF is kind of known for. The opening gag is that you have this staff room of like employees who are like, I can't handle blood. Well, someone's gotta do it. And the camera pans, and it's like a kid's EpiPen or like an IV thing that they left behind, and they're like closing up, trying to take care of it, and all of them are like afraid of blood. But meanwhile, in the other room, Matthew Lillard, which I just want to highlight, Matthew Lillard and Josh Hutcherson show up in my dream, so the casting's consistent. So Matthew Lillard is in the other room, and he's like stabbing a dude, and like they are none the wiser. Literally, like the blinds are up, and if the blinds weren't up, they would literally see him killing them. So it's kind of like a fun juxtaposition. Blood's going everywhere. He's killing this dude. And then meanwhile, in the other room, someone finally works up the courage to take care of the EpiPen. Meanwhile, behind them, Matthew Lillard is wearing a purple ski mask, because I guess he's the purple guy, and he's walking out of the building. Josh Hutcherson is following him, and it's implied that Josh Hutcherson's the only character who knows that, I'm just going to call him Shaggy, that Shaggy is purple guy, that he's a serial killer and stuff like that. And that's the opening to the movie. And I thought it was clever. I thought that was the only comprehensible scene in the movie, because everything after this doesn't make any sense. And I'm just gonna say it right now. I think this movie has a bad writing issue. Hopefully you'll understand what I mean. I'll try to further explain as I go on. So the big draw of this movie is Matthew Lillard's performance, because he is really good at kind of switching between these characters, right? On one hand, he's a fucking deranged serial killer, and it's so enjoyable to watch, but the second, like, he goes out into the day, the second he leaves his restaurant, I think it's implied he owns the restaurant, but the second he leaves, normal guy, and he's very unassuming. He basically, like, if people talk to him, emotionless. He doesn't even respond half the time. It was interesting. And I think Josh Hutcherson was trying to stop him from committing more murders. I'm going to be honest, Josh Hutcherson kind of disappears halfway through this movie. I think it's implied he's killed off screen, or the fucking writers just forgot he existed. Who fucking knows? But it gets worse from here. So let's go into Purple Guy's main motivation for this movie. His main motivation is that he wants to build a hot air balloon. Because, okay, it makes sense, because the setting of this movie is actually kind of creative. It's like this boardwalk of sorts, like this kind of beach town where there's a lot of different family restaurants and like theme attractions and stuff like that. There's a lot going on, and he kind of manages a couple things. And the one thing he wants to make is this new hot air balloon. But no one wants to fund the hot air balloon because they think it could be dangerous. And I'm choosing to believe, in retrospect, now that I'm awake, is that they chose not to believe it's safe because a lot of his other attractions tend to have like a high disappearance rate, an accident rate. Little do they know. However, he goes on the hot air balloon, and he safely flies up into the air and comes back down to show that, yeah, this is perfectly safe. I think his motivation is that if a kid were to go on this, because they weigh a lot less than him, the balloon would just fly away with the kid on it. That's his plan. It makes no fucking sense. I'm trying to piece together, but they really fucking they threw shit at the fan until something worked with this movie. But before the balloon takes off. He's gonna commit more murders, obviously. But Josh Hutcherson is here to put a stop to it. And so he gets the help from his friends. He has like 3 friends that I remember. He has Mr. Beast, a guy who gets a sword, and when I say Mr. Beast, I mean the literal Mr. Beast. A guy who gets a sword, and some unnamed women. So this movie just does not pass the Bechdel test. But more importantly, they just kind of do whatever in this movie. The entire middle act is like gone from my memory, but halfway through the movie, fucking either Purple Guy becomes Dr. Octopus, or or Dr. Octopus like literally replaces him as a villain. Like I don't know if it's like I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. Because Freddy's not in the fucking movie. They don't say the word Freddy's. They don't say this. Aside from knowing that this is the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, they do not say Freddy whatsoever. There's no animatronic, and that's why I think they go the Dr. Octopus route, because Dr. Octopus is kind of animatronic and he does like gripper things. Who fucking knows? So now this chunk of the movie is the slasher part. Josh Hutcherson and all of his friends go into the thing, except Josh Hutcherson fucking dies. Mr. Beast gives the other friend his sword around this point. Again, I don't know where Josh Hutcherson went. Don't ask. So they go into the restaurant from the beginning of the movie, and it's already on fire. And Dr. Octopus, Purple Guy, or just Dr. Octopus, he's there. And they're gonna stop him. They just kind of fucking dropped the hot air balloon plot line at this point, so there's that, that fucking goes. But more importantly, so Dr. Octopus is over this big pit of lava like Bowser, right? So he's with his 4 arms and stuff like that, and they're like, oh, if we take out the arms, he'll fall into the lava and fucking die. Mr. Beast kind of disappears. Again, he doesn't die. Mr. Beast just kind of disappears. Dr. Octopus then very quickly kills the unnamed women, so God forbid fucking women do anything. And then finally, it's the guy with the really cool sword, and I was rooting for this guy. So Dr. Octopus, oh, spoilers by the way, that those characters all died. So Purple Guy, Dr. Octopus is like throwing his arms at the guy, and he's like, he's getting like scraped and all that stuff. The building's on fire. It's about to blow up, and he's like, but he dodges one of them, like the same way it killed the girl. He dodges it and cuts it off, and he's like, that's one. And then the second one comes in, and he gets that one too. And then Purple Guy, fucking Shaggy, whoever it is, I don't know, he's falling, and he's like, I'm gonna fucking fall into lava, no! And he's walking out, and he's like holding his arm, he's like, I did it with my really cool sword that's made of like fucking polystyrene or some shit. And he's walking away, and then the building blows up behind him, and this shit made me so mad. A piece of shrapnel goes into like the back of his head, and he dies. What the fuck? Oh, and get this! Purple Guy fucking survived. This time it's not even Dr. Octopus. It is back to Purple Guy. So Matthew Lillard is back. The casting was consistent. So now it's over. The movie is over. He won. It's a horror movie, so that it can only really go one of 2 routes. And then finally, in the post-credit scene of the movie, they tie it back to Freddy's, because they did not fucking have a single animatronic outside of the octopus suit. So the post-credit scene, it's a completely different cast of characters, and they're walking through the woods. It's like these big, mysterious wooden forests, and there's these dilapidated buildings. And they're like, what are we looking for? And the other guy has a white beard. I think it was the guy from Jurassic Park, but I could be wrong. And he's like, well, I think we just found it. He like holds up his flashlight, even though it's the middle of the day, and there it is. The restaurant's called Freddy's Wednesday. Wait, no, it's not Freddy Wednesday. Freddy's Wendy's. And then the movie ends. What a horrible movie. Honestly, I genuinely am trying to get inside the writers' heads, but none of this made any fucking sense. Don't see this movie when it comes out. It's not gonna be good if it's fucking remotely like anything that I just watched. Really hope they change it, and if they do, you can thank me. See you guys.